about to experience a dance ritual dedicated to Sakpata. Sakpata is one of the most powerful and one of the most feared gods in all of voodoo. It's going on right over here. Things haven't gotten started yet, but there's already thousands of people here. This festival has been going on here in Gliji in this exact same spot every year for the last 323 years. Take a look at this iceberg here. We're estimating it to be about 50 feet high. In terms of thickness, that's how much ice the Jakobshavn Glacier is losing each year. Obviously, the gorillas don't come to you, so we have to go to them. Well, I've been thinking about this experience for a very long time, and now it's actually happening. A close encounter with some of Africa's largest and most rare mountain gorillas on their home turf here in Uganda. This ship is just so big, you can't see it all in one dive. It's pretty incredible to see what a crocodile looks like at the age of 1 week because, frankly, most of us, most of the time, consider crocodiles to be huge, mighty creatures, but in fact, when they start out their lives, they're small enough to fit in the palm of your hand, and they're actually pretty fragile. By the end of July, enough of this ice and snow will have melted to fill this lake with 60 feet of water. Eventually, all of that water finds a hole and makes its way down to the bottom of the ice sheet. Ah, the joys of Africa. You really get a sense of how big they are and how heavy they are. But going off into the wild and seeing harpy eagles in their natural habitat, well, that's a different challenge altogether. Very majestic and graceful. He's huge. That's the male, and he's actually smaller than the female, so can't wait to see how large the female is. To a non-expert like me, these guys look like they might be full grown, but actually they're just big babies. Shirino here is the male, and he's only about 3 years old. And his friend, his playmate, as it were, is Kabila, and she's only about 2.5 years old. According to federal officials, one of the most dire threats facing the nation would be a massive hurricane striking New Orleans. Supposedly, when they get old enough, they're supposed to fly off of these cliffs here and head out to sea, but the lights of the town evidently get them confused, and so instead of flying off to sea, they actually fly into town where they crash land and sometimes end up on the streets. I know. Here we go. That was my very first puffling release. I don't know, I think my form was okay, but the bird didn't cooperate necessarily. Tikal lasted for 1,000 years, but somehow it reached a tipping point when it could no longer support its population. And so within a generation or two, 80% of the people who lived here disappeared. It's hard to explain, but in this region, the pythons are seen as divinities. Basically, people believe that each snake embodies their god, and so each snake is treated with respect and reverence. To say that it's disturbing to see these men intentionally cutting their arms and then blood flowing everywhere, well, that would be an understatement. Let me find. Oh, you're rolling on that? Thanks, I appreciate that. Emergency workers in China are tackling new threats in the wake of this month's devastating earthquake. I'm Peter Standring. Today's journey takes us to a passageway between two worlds, to a narrow strip of water between North and South America, the Panama Canal. Just before the break in tonight's Get the Picture segment, National Geographic photographer Bob Caputo showed us how to take perfect animal portraits at the zoo. Of course, the unanswered question is, how do you get the animals to smile for the camera? Well, at zoos all over the country, keepers work hard to keep their animals happy. They call it enrichment. Tracking mountain gorillas is a labor of love. I guess it has to be because seeing them in the wild is labor intensive. It's an endeavor that is for hardy, healthy individuals, people who also realize that patience is a virtue. You know, the bald eagle became the symbol of America because of its stately appearance and grace. Over the last century, though, this majestic bird has come perilously close to extinction. Whitewater adventurers are descending on Santa Cruz, California, for the world's largest surf kayaking contest. Ever heard of the term being Maytagged? Well, here it is. Obviously, it's got nothing to do with cleaning clothes and everything to do with riding their kayaks inside these wild ocean waves. Maytagged because they say it's like being inside of a washing machine.